Well. Hi, everybody. It's me. Today, I didn't even announce the stream yet. Actually, my phone is charging right now. So I'm not going to be able to announce the stream until afterwards. So whoever listens to it is probably going to be the people who have received notifications by clicking on the bell, which is fine because they'll prove something to me, which I'm really kind of interested about, which is this. How many people actually watch my stream, listen to the bell, click on the bell, and understand the bell? I just was looking to see if I can find um, a loose connection to my mixer. Another story. It's another story. Is it the mixer or is it the headphones? Well, it's not the headphones anymore because they're fixed. How you doing, Country Port? Well, right now, as I said, I did not announce the stream in any special way. Just the people who see the bell notification are likely to see the stream. So, anyway, I want to talk to you in particular because it's kind of nice here on the phone. I know that you and I'm talking about you and me specifically. We've had problems, okay? And I wanted to talk about giving you a personal apology for so many things that happened in the last year. I think I owe you that much. I said a few things to you which unfortunately were inflammatory, and I wanted to make sure we got that cleared up because I was under a lot of issues of, feeling like at the time, I went back in November and September. I said this. I was feeling like I had a bit of an identity crisis, and yeah, no. I just want to make sure you understand. Okay. Tomorrow I'm gonna be going to get my renters rebate application in for this year, and so I usually get successfully about anywhere from $650 to $700 a month, or no, sorry, $650 to $700 a year. People often think I use that money to buy computers and stuff. Well, this year I don't have to because I got a computer that's more than satisfactory for my applications. So what I want to do this year is I'm going to be focusing on some clothing, and an inexpensive tablet that I can use for the being able to sit on the couch, because I always like to be able to sit on the couch or sit outside on the porch. And it'll be nice to be able to have a big screen. Yeah. Oh, anyway, like I said, yes, what the tablet, I'm going to be able to sit on the couch, or I'm going to be able to go outside again because my iPhone is good as dead. So we don't have two mobile devices for streaming the content. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not really interested in buying another phone because, number one, I'll be honest when I say it, I don't really need more phones. I got a whole drawer full of broken phones. What if you did a biker look for Lumi? Well, Lumi is a soft budge. She had asked me about the wig, and she said to me is, oh, by the way, one thing about your dog, Memmy, Lummy's more of a Rottweiler than a Golden Retriever. Honestly, when she gets mean, she's like a Rottweiler or a Doberman Pinscher. She's not really normally that way, but like she was on her Wednesday show, she was just really getting fed up with a lot of things. And normally Lummy's a pretty nice person. She just, was just feeling more and more that I was being treated badly by some people. And of course, she certainly felt like she was being treated badly. Yeah. I see Lumi more like... Oh my god, I'm trying to think of the actresses that would kind of look like Lumi. Yeah, you're right about a bigger lady. Yeah, definitely. Of course, when she was alive in the 1840s, 1835 to 1910, she would be more of... She was a shopkeeper's daughter, and I'll tell you a story about this. You may not have heard this story. One time, her father was tending the store. A man came into the store. He had a pistol. Now, back then, pistols are a lot simpler than we have today. And his was a single shot. It was not a six gun. It was a single shot. And so he goes up to her father and says, "Give me your money in the cash box now." What did Lumi do? Realizing that her whole father was absolutely positively afraid that he was going to be shot. They had a big, large skillet. I visualized it was about a 24-inch, maybe not quite that big, but big enough, cast iron. And she grabbed it off the back. It was on the display window. And she said very firmly, and I did tell the story once before, she said, "Drop this, Buster, or I'm going to drop you." The guy, realizing that he only had one shot in his pistol, if he shot Lumi, then he was going to end up with a murder charge. If he shot the storekeeper, he was going to end up with a murder charge. If he shot her father, she was likely to basically brain him. Realizing the odds of surviving against a very angry Finnish woman, who actually originally was from Sweden, he kind of just decided that in the best course of action, he put the gun down. He apologized to her father. His name is Herman. And he ran out the store. When he ran out of the store. In this case, because of Lumi's intervention, nobody got hurt. No money was taken. And a would-be robber was probably spared a murder charge, even though he didn't have any pocket money afterwards. The point is Lumi's very protective, and she will protect me from what she perceives as danger. And that's what I call a person that is serving and putting their own life in line for other people. Just done my live video. This is Jennifer. And the guy, I bet he did. I wasn't physically there. I couldn't tell you, but clearly he realized that Lumi, when she gets really angry, and if you know any Scandinavian people, because as I said, she originally was a native of Sweden when she was young. She moved to Kampi with her father when she was 7. So obviously she was about 16 at the time. Women back then were very strong. They were not wimps like today. In fact, I know a few real Finnish women that are very powerfully strong, and one of them named Ani Volansilta, which is Lori's Volansilta's wife of the hydraulic press channel, is a major bench press champion of Finland. Very strong people. And so are Swedes. And so you can just visualize how much stronger a woman who had a hard life in Victorian era of Finland would be like. She was not a sissy then. She was not a femme. She was as close to butch as you could get. So when she puts on the dark brown hair, it's for her. It reminds her of those days when she was young and strong and fiery. And one of the things is that scared a lot of people then, because she was so fiercely independent in Kampi. And it scared a lot of the people on her channel because they realize that she's not the kind of person that wants to tolerate crap. But I also know little me is being, when not treated badly, is one of the most charismatic and most wonderful people I have ever met, just like me. When she, for example, people ask me why I didn't get mad when she called me a pussy. The reason I didn't get mad because she was right. I am a pussy. Compared to her age, my life has been fairly tame in this life. I never really had to face very much severe confrontations. So, unfortunately, this is the longest life I ever lived. Most of my lives, I'm dead by 30. And, oh, I'm sure he did. And Canadians too, yep. No, I'm not quite depressed. You know what it is? She was being very honest when she said, is there are people in general. Now, when she says in general, she's not picking names. She doesn't want to pick names because she knows there's blame. Everybody's got something to do with it some way or another, including Stacy, which unfortunately was one of the big flies in the ointment, is Stacy. We all know Stacy. And of course, the infighting between the different groups and the constant being having to sit through and listening to all the back and forth arguing did have an impact on my well-being. So yes, I am going to go into therapy. I've said that, so I'm not going to rehash that again. But tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week, I'm going to be talking to my medical doctor also about my ears, as I mentioned also, and see if we can find out what is wrong with my right ear, which has been messed up since I was 13 when a cat went up near it. So, oh, it's okay, no problem, happy feast. Michele, don't you remember you didn't have any of them problems before Stacy and Rachel came along? I didn't really have much of those problems so much when Rachel was around, pretty much, because it was just mostly me and Rachel. I was defending Rachel. But Stacy, unfortunately, was constantly flip-flopping back and forth between Rachel's side, my side, and Irish Marie's side, and creating all kinds of mayhem. And it turns out the reason why she did that was she was looking for something very special, which I don't think she understood anything about real, true loyalty and friendship. A lot of people, unfortunately, in this day and age, she's involved with the drama group. And so for her, drama is a major form of entertainment. She's the kind of person that would watch The Guiding Light, As the World Turns, General Hospital, One Life to Live, etc. And could probably tell you every single character's murder and divorce and affair and everything, which frankly most of the time I really couldn't give a crap about. Oh, just as I could tell you about different computer configurations, different telephone designs, and things like that, which most other people would never care about either. So, we're kind of back in the same boat. Hippie P says, very true, we all got along. There was always a chill vibe, and we all interacted. The shows were fun when those two weren't around. I think the biggest problem was the fact that there was always this. I don't think Rachel was the problem, but definitely when Stacy came in, and because I mean we all worked that out with Rachel. We all found out about this, the facts. But Stacy was acting, and sometimes she'd be on one side, and then she would flip over to Marie's side, and then we didn't know if we were friends anymore, and then things like that. And I'm not too happy about that. And I told Stacy very straight out front. She said she wants to be on my side. I said to her, "You better be on my side, because this is the last time I'm going to bail you out. I am not going to bail you out next time. This is it. This is the final time. You switch sides again, you're out of here. I mean it." I said, I'm 51 years old. I'm not 53. Okay? Please don't make me 2 years older than I am. Although, I'll be honest, sometimes I feel like I'm 63. I understand people have sides and fans and friends and things that they support. I understand that. Which brings up another issue. I'm not going to go too much into this, because anybody who's been keeping up with the situation has probably got plenty in their head, and it's probably swimming around. You probably feel like a goldfish swimming in guano. But basically, the way I see it is, we had a good time. We had good shows. We reached out to people. We talked to people. Sure, we had fun too. And sometimes the fun did get a little bit too much on the serious side. But for the most part, we were good people. I want to get to those days back. I want to get back to something that would be more productive for people to watch the show, which I think is important. Lumi herself would like to see the same thing on her channel. Some of you may have wondered why Lumi wanted to finally do her own live streams. And you probably wonder why the wig was even mentioned at all. Lumi and I did shows pretty much as my hair is now on Lumi's channel. And people thought, wait a minute, is Lumi Michelle's twin sister? Oh, wait, that is Michele. But she talks differently. I mean, her voice is different. And yet, that's got to be Michele playing a character or something. So Lumi said to me, actually it was suggested by someone, I don't remember who, that maybe Lumi needs to change her look. And I said, that's not really a bad idea. And so we conferred, and I know that I always see Lumi in my head is kind of like a butch, kind of like a biker chick, tough kid, older biker chick, not like teenage biker chick. I'm talking about adult. And Bob was the closest hairstyle I could find, and that's the one I bought. It was also the least one of the more lower cost wigs. I didn't buy the most expensive because they could go for really a lot of money for $10. Marie is herself is a nice person. She does have a family to raise, and she has family concerns, and there is no doubt about that in my mind. I know deep down she's concerned about everybody, if that makes any sense. So Marie, for her sake, is pointing out like what she thinks is what she sees as the answer. And of course, it doesn't match mine. So it's kind of like the old saying from Adam, I think it was, Adam Savage. I said, I reject your reality and substitute my own. Well, likewise, she has her own reality and substitutes her own for what I give her, which is sad because we do have a couple common things that we think about. The first thing is I understand, I have empathy. I understand she has family, she has responsibilities for the home. She's not a single person with just 3 cats and another twin soul to worry about. She's got 3 children and a husband and running a household, which obviously is an armful. I mean, that is a whole layer different. I can tell you, my mother can tell you what that's like. Taking care of 3 kids and a husband. It's a lot of work. Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is that I'm not afraid, to say to Marie is, I understand that you have your concerns and your opinion. I have mine too. But we both do admit that what has been going on for the last 6 months, and it has been 6 months, not just since Rachel. It goes back a bit more than that, but the last 6 months, just say 6 months, has been a real stress on me and a lot of people, including R11, Cringe Report, Out on the Wire. Oh my goodness, I can't remember anybody else right now, but I'm sure there's quite a few other people. Toy Talkers, the Late Beaver Time, and a few other people. And it's been and Ruben Whatever. Ruben Whatever is still floats around now and then. I see him every so often. And he was actually on Lumi's channel, and he had nothing bad to say to Lumi. I think he actually understood exactly what she was trying to do in her initial pilot show. Well, I don't know where I never really got a chance to talk much with Marie, other than the situation lately. It's always involving Stacy, and I don't really want to pick sides anymore. I just don't. I just want to do my show, and I want to focus on my content, and I want to try to find some new content. Because for the love of Pete, how long are we going to keep rehashing the same old arguments? It's not going to work. We got to come up with some new stuff. We used to have a very active Discord channel, which used to be, well, it had its good days and bad days. It still exists. It's quiet in there. There's no one really in there anymore. MMD Archives went in there. He yells into the room, and all we hear is the echo of the air conditioning and the sound of a few rats scurrying away in the distance. Oh yeah, P. Okay. Maybe you should try at talking about other stuff with people. With due respect, it doesn't always have to be about your channel. Right. Right. And I know that Pop, in his own way, was trying to make it about Bulgaria, but unfortunately, the majority of Americans is as exciting as watching paint dry, because we're not Bulgarian. We are Americans. Well, I know a little bit about On the Wire. I know a little bit about Jennifer J. I know a little bit about Cringe Report, I know about Irish Marie. But honestly, that's just it. We don't really talk and share ideas. I used to love when we could talk about things and have some fun. R11 used to help run the Cringe Report. We used to have a good show. And I'm not really sure what he's doing now. He got the impression from him that he's trying to work on some other projects right now. Right. But likewise, I think you guys also get to know Lumi a bit better. So when she said to me, I just want to bring this up real quick. What she said to me is, I want to have my own channel so I can go, which I already had. She said, but I want to have a channel where I can do my own live stream so people can get to know me. And I said, well, that's a good idea. I said, because I've got people on my channel who tell me that they want nothing to do with you. Well, I mean, especially with the crossovers, because it gets them all upset. And she says, yeah, well, I'm kind of having the same problem, because when I do my show, everybody thinks I'm you. And they think that I'm just a facsimile, and I'm not. So when she wanted to do that, I had no problem saying yes to that, because obviously it just means additional show once a week right now where Lumi can have her show where she can discuss her thoughts. And she loves to talk about spirituality and faith systems and talk about the afterlife, because that's what she is. She was originally a spiritual teacher, and she was very much. She has a lot of rich history to her, whereas I was always more of the scientific mind that talked about research and science, and that's what I'm interested in. For example, with the new artificial intelligence they're coming up with now, it already exists the possibility that we can have robots or androids that are very capable of almost mimicking emotions perfectly well. The Japanese have come up with some very successful robots. We also have Sophia, which was made by Hanson Robotics, which is probably one of the most sophisticated robot who uses the World Wide Web to access information and provide it in a form that people could understand. And trust me, I haven't sitting through and reading through web pages on the internet. If I could go to Sophia and say, Sophia, could you please find me the schematic for this Adaptec AHA 1542 SCSI host adaptive board and give me a link to where I can find the SCSI drivers for Windows XT, Windows 95, or Windows 3.1, instead of having me to go dig through the internet and go through tons of websites. She could probably go through in a microsecond, or at least very quickly, and help me find the information I need. Mayhem, I talk to once in a while. FC, yeah, I agree. We got to talk about more. We got to talk about more topics. Really, we do. A couple of times I've said nicely is if anybody has any suggestions, post them in the comment section. And I really didn't get very many. Rachel said she was going to try to help me out with helping me to co-host, but with her mother in a convalescent home and family issues in her life, she doesn't have time to do it. She went back to work today. She's working her third shift. And so she's not going to have time because now she's going to work extra shifts to make up for the holiday leave, for family leave. So it means I'm going to have to cover things like I do. Now, Kirsty said she would do it, and we did do it together last time, and it was okay. But I don't know if she's really interested in doing it anymore or not. I didn't talk to Kirsty since yesterday. And then this morning, Marie was having a bad day or something, and she was going on a long tirade of things that were wrong about different people, and she started to attack me, and I got mad, and I left that chat. And then Lumi, who was still in the chat, was like, because she was on her own account, she said, she jumped into Marie and she said, "Why are you talking, Michele, like this? When, I'm just defending my wife from being abused by people that are just treating her badly. I don't want to start a war with you." And that basically snowballed into something that Lumi couldn't even deal with, and so Lumi left. So I have no idea what the group of three are discussing, which makes it a bit of a challenge. But Rachel said to me, it would be good if we could all work together. And I said, yeah, I agree with that. But we also have to understand that people also have different views on the subject. It's just, one of those things that it's going to take a while to sort through this mess. And for people like Stacy, let me say one thing, and I'm going to make this publicly known right now. For anyone like Stacy, you have to develop some patience. You're not going to resolve things like you see in the movies in 30 minutes. I can assure you that given your what she did with flip-flopping back and forth between two sides of people, that a lot of people were rightfully angry, including me, including Rachella, and including Marie. Because, one, I don't think she really understands what loyalty is. Because I think that Stacy was looking for something that was never meant to be through the group. I think she's looking for companionship. I don't think she understands that, number one, companionship of what she's looking for takes time to develop. It doesn't happen in a month or 3 months. It takes sometimes years to develop. People with Asperger's, for example, we don't necessarily always trust right away. And then there are other people with Asperger's who don't understand, and then they trust too easily. And then they get broken and bruised, and then they don't realize, in some cases, that it was a mistake on their part. I am an adult in the sense I'm 51 years old. So I'm willing to admit, like I said, my faults. My fault by my own actions, my own deeds, what they've done, what they failed to do. And I'm not afraid to say that. And I believe it. I've done a few boners. You know it. I've done a few boners in my time. But I'm hoping that we can all work towards trying to find a better way of dealing with the issues that keep coming up. And I'll be honest, I'm sorry to say, they're going to keep coming up. This is the internet. Things happen. People got emotions. People got feelings. And sometimes people step on each other's toes. And sometimes people drive their Ferraris on them. And crush the tarsals in the process. But basically, we need to work together, because one of the things that I've learned is if you are willing to make some compromises and the other side is willing to make some compromises, we can come up with solutions to problems. I know Lumi agrees with me on this, and I'm sure she's going to mention something similar on her own channel. People say they don't want to hear Lumi talk, and she's sitting in the back room, so to speak, and she's watching this on the closed circuit TV, and she's like, "Oh my God, here we go again." No, we're not going to go there. What I'm just saying is I want to find a way to make everybody want to be part of the show, and I want everybody to feel comfortable and stuff like that. But I'm going to be honest. Sometimes somebody's going to drive the Ferrari on your toes and crush them, and it does happen. And the good news is that most of the time we can overcome our arguments between each other, although sometimes it takes longer to resolve them than they do when it is in TV. A lot of people don't really understand that. You don't resolve problems necessarily in 5 minutes or at the end of a 30-minute TV show. Some things take longer. Now, I'm going to just ask if anybody has any questions. I will answer them. I don't have anything else to really cover, but I'm willing to talk if you want to ask me questions. I will do my best to answer them in a timely manner. Because other than this, I don't really have any other topics. So I'll give you guys access to the floor and see what you got to ask, and I'll try to answer the questions as reasonable as I can. Let's see. Well, right now it looks like everybody's kind of getting ready to kind of wrap it up for the night. It is late, at least my time zone. Kind of wish I did announce the stream. I really did. But my phone was charging in the other room, and I didn't feel like grabbing it. So, and announcing the stream in this software is difficult at best. So, So anyway, I guess I have to put some filler in. I know that I want to get out and do some more videos outside. And that's my next project. That's why I need the tablet for live streaming on the porch or at the park. Because if my phone is being used as a camera, I can't use it as a screen to read the chat using the RTMP software. And also I do want to go back to live streaming on Twitch as well, using Restream.io, so we would be able to reach out to both the Twitch group and the YouTube group as well. One of the things I wanted to do with Lomi was to do a video using some optical effects so we could literally sit on the couch together as two separate people. And that's something I want to try. In a very simple level that should be easy enough to do. What is the most exciting thing you ever did? I would say the most exciting thing I ever did wasn't anything like that drastic. It was going for my confirmation in the Roman Catholic Church. Something that I always wanted to do. I did that as an adult through Right Christian Initiation for Adults, or RCIA. I was born and raised a Lutheran. I actually never got confirmed in the Lutheran Church because I thought the Lutheran Church wasn't for me. I always wanted to become a Catholic. And so I went through, at the age of 21 years old, or is it 23? I think it was 23, right before the summer, right before I was to go to University of Connecticut at Storrs. I went through RCIA in the summer. It was because I was so knowledgeable about Christ and the church. It didn't take me long to go through the course. And what was exciting to me was standing in front of the congregation of St. Joseph's and affirming my vows as a Roman Catholic and finally taking Holy Communion for the first time. And I remember that the congregation actually stood up and gave me a standing ovation. It was also the first time for Father Leon Restucia, who never ever confirmed anybody before that he taught. In his final years as a pastor at St. Joseph's, he did one of his wanted dreams to finally bestow the act of confirmation. So that was a major step for both of us. And since 1993, I have been a Roman Catholic since, and I may not always be the most loyal Catholic in the world, but the truth is, deep down, I am Catholic to my soul, all the way back down, even when I was 5 years old, when I started to wonder about what Protestant versus Catholicism was and what was the real difference between Lutherans and Catholics. No, I was never into sports. Sadly enough, I never got into musical instruments either. I did love art. I did love drawing. I did love working with clay. I did love working in the metal shop and making things in metal. In wood shop. Of course, my dad had a wood shop in the basement, so I was very familiar with all the woodworking tools. I did I did like voluntarily. I did like 2 years of shop, and I did 3 years of art. And of course, I did business accounting and business arithmetic, and because originally the Gilbert School was a business school, and so they really mostly focused on business acumen. And so when it comes to business, I know my stuff. But it was I think the most special thing for me was the confirmation, which I still remember very well to this day, and how excited I was. I didn't go to any major concerts. I went to a Baroque chamber ensemble when I was in Little Rock, Arkansas. That was being held in a church in Little Rock, or was it West Little Rock? I think it was West Little Rock. And the music was awesome, from the cellos and the violin section, because as I said, it was a Baroque concert. It wasn't a symphonic orchestra or anything like that. A cello, a viola, a violin, and I think there was two cellos actually. And it was just one of my favorite things. I love the classical music scene. I always have. I never got into the hard rock stuff. I never got into any rock concerts. I don't think I could have handled a rock concert. But I sure loved that concert I listened to, and I was there, and that was an awesome concert. Although I did go to another church concert from a group called Life Unlimited 2. That was held at the Nepog Congregational Church around 1982, which I bought the record from, and I have it. Well, my mom has it. I copied the record into MP3s. I got the MP3s. She still got the record somewhere. And she said, I think this record sucked. I said, are you kidding me? The intro song was mind-blowing. Oh, yeah, I went to a few other choral performances at UConn. I actually was a musical writer for the daily campus at UConn stores, and I would be talking about musical pieces. Thank God for all the times I was Good Evening, Good Music with Victor, or was it Victor Hugh? Ivor Hugh on WJMJ of the Archdiocese of Hartford, 88.9. And he would go through and he would describe musical pieces and the ensembles and how they were done, because that made it very easy for me to do a musical review, because now I had a good idea of what the choral or singers were doing. I'm sorry I don't have any of those pieces from those days. I really wish I saved my daily campus newspapers. But well, I didn't think about it. No. The closest thing to a fist fight I've ever been in was with my dad. I lost. Although one time I got mad, I bit him. Which wasn't such a nice thing, but when you think back, the only thing I had going for me was my teeth. I'm not interested in combat or even in street fighting. But I do remember that some of the most awesome Christmas presents I ever got. Although some of you guys might say, what's so great about them? One of the first things I got for a Christmas present was a CB radio, a TRC 432 Navajo by Realistic. It's a standard CB base station. My uncle bought it for me. And I had that all the way up to when I was living in Willimantic. And then when the apartment got foreclosed upon, and the building inspector said it was dangerous because the apartment had no running water, I ended up basically leaving all my old stuff behind. The only thing I managed to salvage was my record collection and a few books. I lost everything else. And, some of the clothes I had. And the thing was that I was really, really heavily into technology. But by the technology I was talking about would be something like you see on Lazy Game Reviews, not exactly modern at all. And I remember tinkering with 386s and 486s, Windows 3.1, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows XP, Windows Me. But the most favorite operating system I was using at the time was Linux. And I was, doing a lot of things with computers back then. Of course, my eyes were better then. Marginally better. At least my right eye was better. I could see better with my right eye. Who is the person you like the most other than Lummy? The person. Okay, let's be honest. Let's be more specific because I've got a lot of people I like, both professionals and family, and I think the one person on the actors I admire the most is Bridget Fonda, because she has demonstrated, even in the episode of a movie called, I think it's Keneal. This is when she was working with an older lady, an older violinist. And she did a very nice role with that movie, of helping this older lady to get back into doing some light concert touring. And of course, there's the Snow Queen, which she didn't really have much of a role. It was just mostly just a few scenes. Maybe because the movie company that made Artisan Entertainment, which was a production company, couldn't afford to pay her for a lot of shots in the movie because they spent so much money on the set, making the Snow Queen set, and they probably couldn't afford to pay Bridget Fonda the kind of money that she would want for being a main character in the movie. So she was kind of cameo, but it was still the main character. Chelsea Hobbs, which played Gerda, was really awesome as an actress, and she really, really played the character very well. People I don't like that much. Well, I gotta think for a second. I don't usually talk too much to the people I can't stand. I usually like to avoid them, but I'm not really into Howard Stern. I'll be honest when I say this. I think Howard Stern, to me, makes me very uncomfortable with the way he presents himself on the show. I know the show is popular, but for me, he just doesn't do anything. Another person I admire, and I would love to be someone similar to that, would be Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson was an awesome person in his own way, because the way he had done his TV show, the Johnny Carson show, for all those decades. And another one was Merv Griffin. And I think that when you think about the way the shows were back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, you see that these men clearly were funny, but not being raunchy. In personal level, the two people I admire the most is my father, because my father he had to overcome a very serious issue of alcoholism. I mentioned this before in the documentary. And he, despite having to deal with a mother that was extremely difficult to work with, my father made an effort in 1976, when I was 8 years old, to quit drinking for good. And I can assure you my dad was sober up until the day he died. So that's one for you, Pop. I thank him also for showing me not to drink, and why drinking to using it as a way of self-medication was a bad idea. Again, thanks, Pop. I appreciate it. Another person I appreciate was my uncle, Uncle Ernie. Here's a guy who worked hard, created a floor laying company, My aunt Thelma was awesome. It was my father's sister. Oh, actually, it's my other aunt, but my Arnie was his brother. And you want to talk about the difference between best tale of two people. My dad tried so hard to do well, and he kept running into hardships. I think he wanted to be like his brother, and so he started his own floor laying company called Northland Flooring. It didn't work out for him. We've mentioned that briefly in the documentary, and so in 1973, oil embargo, the price of fuel shot through the roof. He wasn't getting the contracts because my uncle was getting all the contracts. And I think deep down, my dad for a long time kind of regretted that. But of course, you also have the old battle axe. My mother basically constantly, like the woman Hyacinth, keeping up with the people, keeping up with appearances, was constantly always wanting my dad to push himself a little harder than he was capable of doing. So I think that and the constant struggle to raise a family of three is what made him self-medicate more than anything. My father was a musician in his own right. He would sing baritone. And my father loved music like Freddie Fender, Johnny Cash. There we go. Sorry about that. It was the microphone plug fell out of the back. Okay, so sound will come back now. The I don't know how much of it you missed, but the point I'm trying to get at is we would share records and we would have a good time listening to music, and I had a grand old time spending time with my cousins and my aunt, my uncle, my aunt Anne Marie, which was my cousin Robin's mother, was my father's sister. Anne Marie was also into photography. Aunt Thelma was into antiques, and so was Anne Marie. And so I lived in a house, and I would visit my aunt when my mom was doing house cleaning for people. And she lived, I swear to God, she lived in the museum. All the stuff from the 19th century, the 16th century, 17th century. Yeah, she does. Lumi talks about her family on her channel. She likes to talk about her past. The problem is that I don't think too many people really got to know me that well, which is kind of shameful because he's really got a rich past. She's certainly got more street smarts than I do. But the truth is that I would admit that despite some of the abusive nature of my childhood and stuff, that I couldn't say my childhood was overall that bad because I was surrounded by so much stuff and so many rich memories of my childhood. Who is the most famous person I ever met? I don't know. It's a good question. I probably think was the electrical instructor who wrote my electrical engineering textbook. I got to meet him in person. I have an autographed textbook by the original writer of the textbook. I don't really know very many famous people in person because remember, I mostly didn't go out very much. I'm still around, just a lot more quiet. Yeah, it's the plug and the microphone came out of the socket in the back. This microphone is I have a love-hate with this microphone. First of all, this microphone when I first got it was just a generic, cheap Chinese piece of crap. That's what we call the craptastic microphone. It's got a brand new cartridge in it. I paid more for the cartridge than I paid for the microphone shell. All that's left of it is just a shell. The wiring had to be totally redone. The shielding had to be upgraded to get rid of the AC hum. The element was improved dramatically for a better dynamic element. But I don't want to bore you with the details. Just to say is I took a piece of shit. They made it better. What's your favorite color, Michele? Well, okay. My colors have changed a little bit because my hair changed. So some colors do not work well with my hair anymore, and some do. I like peach. I like pink. I do like blues. I like some greens. I like purple. I do not like yellow. I do not like orange. Okay. There's something about yellow and orange and certain shades of red I do not feel comfortable with. But particularly it's the yellows and the oranges I don't like because they don't seem to match me at all. I still look good in pink. I can tell you that. I can still wear pink. I just didn't think I could when I went with white hair, but I can. That's actually, my hair's not white. It's actually blonde, but oh yeah. By the way, speaking of hair, when I was a child, my hair was actually this color. When I was born, I was actually maybe a little more yellow than this. It was something about being a blonde. I wanted to go back to being a blonde again. And that's how I did. I went back to being a blonde around 2000 and before I actually started doing YouTube videos. So I think it was probably a year ago. No, wait, it was kind of near the beginning of my YouTube career. I went from brown to blonde. You didn't see me when I was brown, but you did see my early shades of blonde, which looked like gray. Because the first colorist I had at the salon wasn't sure exactly how much she could do it and how far she could go without destroying my hair. My hair is very fine hair. It's not like a coarse hair. It's a very fine hair. And so she was afraid she was gonna trash it. I said, wait a minute. I said, I forgot what her name was now, but I'll just give her a name. I'll just call her Sue. That sounds almost right. I said, look, it's just hair. Okay, can we try something? Please, don't be afraid. Well, I don't want you to look bad. I said, okay, I see your point, but let's try. So for a few years, I was going to the Platinum Salon. She just couldn't get it right for some reason. Well, it was called the Platinum Salon, so that's kind of what it looked like, was platinum blonde, or more like platinum color. Not blonde. But it wasn't until I came and saw Keith at Eclipse Salon, which used to be called here too, that I would finally begin the process of going to the color I have now. And even that took a couple of years for them to perfect it, to get it right, to figure out which process worked to get my hair right. So many early years of my hair, they really had a hard time with it because they didn't know how strong the bleach should be. And so some of the early years, my hair would snap off like very fine crystals. It would just break right off. So I looked almost like I was going bald. I wasn't. I was just, the hair was just breaking off the top of my head. And so Jessica and then Tori began to nail it down, the formula that was best, and that's what we're using now. So, let's see. No worries, Licks. Just got to see you again. If you were granted 3 wishes, what would they be? For one thing, I'd like to see peace in the world. If anything, I'd like to see the end of wars. To me, that would be the most important thing, is the day when we could all kind of come together and just be friendly towards each other. And some people say, well, why aren't you always asking for money or something like that? Well, I mean, I want enough to live on, yes. But I don't really see money as a major reason to be excited. I would always want to have my own home. And I know I cannot have children at this life, but I've always did want to have kids. But sometimes, even now, I have to say to myself, even if I was younger, would I really want to take on the responsibility of having a child? I don't know. Of course, my 3 wishes changed a lot. When I was a youngster, I wanted to learn how to be an ice skater and a dancer. Well, that didn't happen. I always wanted to learn how to play the violin. That didn't happen either, although that could still happen. I could always buy a violin and take some of the internet courses to at least learn how to play something with a violin. Well, let's be honest. It depends on first of all, 2 things. How blonde you want to go. I mean, and second of all, this is what you need to talk to your hairstylist about, because some people can tolerate the process very good, especially if they have, like a thicker, heavier hair. They can do it and it will be less of a problem. But when you have hair as fine as this, going blonde from brown, never mind that picture that's always used in memes, but that was really what my hair looked like. It was like an ash brown and with a little bit of red highlights. So in my case, it was a lot of lifting of natural hair color out of my hair to get rid of all that brown and go to blonde. So that means that, of course, when you take out the other pigments of your hair with bleach, what happens is it causes the equivalent of your hair to become porous, because where the pigments are gone, there's holes. I guess you can call it similar in ways to osteoporosis, like what happens with bones, where bones become porous, and that weakens the hair. But if you have thicker hair, usually you do fine. You can bleach and go within reason. So depending on how blonde you want to go, you can always ask your colorist to give you recommendations with what color to go with. There is absolutely a large number of ways of doing things, and everybody's hair is different. So find a colorist that you trust, because they're going to be working with you for a long time, especially if your situation is tricky enough that they have to find the right level of how far they can go. And for me, as I said, I've been it took me over 7 years before they really perfected the color and got the process right. So it could take a while. Well, the phones, I will turn them on for a little bit, in a little bit, but here's the problem with the phones. I'm concerned that some cases with the phones, that because of my hearing, it's either I may misunderstand somebody and start an incident again, which I don't want to do, or I may accidentally say something that is completely different than what the caller was asking me, and then I have to look like an idiot. Looking like an idiot isn't exactly new to me, but I first of all, I want to get my ear checked, my right ear checked, to see if it's damaged from when the cap went off near my ear, and if it can be fixed. If there was damage to the bones in my ear, can it be fixed? I still want to know. I know what's wrong with my right eye, but the problem is the right eye is much more touchy to touch than my ear is, as far as I know. Until I talk to an ear specialist, I can't tell you how much can be done for my right ear, but I kind of would love to have good hearing again. Definitely. What? What is that? Let's play F, Mary, Kill. Your choices are Rich, Nick, and Marie. I don't know what the heck that is. I'm not even gonna. I don't want to. I don't want to. But I will say is the one person that I really wish I could talk to sometimes is our 11. I miss talking to him. Me and him used to have fun talking to each other. I know that with his schedule in his business he was doing, he didn't have time to talk a lot. But he usually would take the time to come onto the show at least once in a great while. Or sometimes I would manage to every so often be able to reach out to him on chat and talk to him, but lately he hasn't been here. Oh, I see. Well, one to bang, one to kill, and one to marry. I don't know if that's a good idea. Well, let's see. Stacy. I'll be honest with you, but it's a Stacy. I don't know, but Stacy. She's kind of a wild card. First of all, I think that I'll tell you the truth. She wanted me to be happy, and she said to me, "Well, why don't you come over here and move into Scotland?" And then I remember the story would have more critical unity, and it was like, I said to myself, "Oh my God, what happens if I took her up on that offer and I go to Scotland and I married her, and then something goes wrong, and the next thing you know, and I'm screaming to return to the United States." Oh no! Oh, I do want to go to the UK, but not with by prenuptials. Although honestly, it would probably be cheaper to go by marriage. I don't think. No, seriously, I don't think it would ever work with me and Stacy. For so many reasons. There might be age difference. Hell, I'm as old as her mother, for God's sakes. I don't like. No, my God, no. She's too young and too insecure. I don't think I could do that. I do want to go to the UK, but I want to go on my own. But then I remember when I was living in Willimantic, how badly I wanted to come home to Winston. So I think that would be a really rough one. I couldn't come home right away. I had to move back to Winston in steps. Which is true. And I've been even though this is town small, I gotta be honest, I really do like Winsted for the most part, and it's. I grew up here. Of course, I admit that since 1983, Winston sure has changed a lot. Not for the better, unfortunately. Um, Speaking of Muppet Michele, Kirsty, I suggested to Kirsty, because she likes to make dolls, I said, why don't you make a Muppet Lumi? And then you and Jen could actually do a puppet show together with the two. And of course, she didn't know who Jen was. So that'd be interesting to see what would happen. Michele and Lumi are technically a threesome. I don't know about that. I like Jen. I think Jen's cool, but you know, Jen, like me, has challenges in her life that she has to work around. And obviously, the biggest one is how far away we are from each other. I wouldn't mind visiting her up there in Whitehorse, but honestly, that is a hell of a trip. I mean, it's almost as far as going away to go. Actually, it's farther than going to the UK. It's probably just as frustrating as far as, I mean, for visiting is one thing, right? You know, you just flash your passport and get over there. But I don't have a passport, and that was one of the things I was thinking about getting. But like Cringe Report said earlier, one of the things I also wanted to do is to go to Disney World. Well, that's going to be too expensive to do. Let's see. It's getting what? No. Michele, let me. Okay, read that. LOL. Was Dory on top or were you, or actually on the side? We couldn't. She would be more on the bottom because of her size. She was just. And we didn't really do much more than touchy feely, and for a lot of reasons. Obvious one is because once you get to be as big as Dory, it is really, really hard to do very much else. You know, and number two is I don't have anything that really can penetrate. It was just it's too small. You can't do anything with it. Maybe if I hook a garden hose to it, I could, but that's about it. So, yeah, I'm sure it does. I know it's also very expensive, too. But even for me, when I was a kid, I wanted to go to Disney World. Even as an adult, I still want to go to Disney World. Actually, I'd like to go to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. Now, that'd be awesome. That's the park that started it all. Disneyland is actually one of the smaller of the parks because it's the first one. And they had the Space Mountain ride and several of the things that I really wanted to see. It sounds fun until you realize you're in a seeing of crazy toddlers and children and the bugs and the heat. Yeah, oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I don't think I know of any amusement park that doesn't have that. I used to go to Six Flags New England, which used to be called Riverside Park. And it was the same thing. A lot of kids, a lot of noise. For me, that was always a bit overwhelming. Yeah. All right. Just give me a second here. Oh, yes. I did fix the headphones. You'll notice that the cord is now fixed. 6 inches shorter, but it works. But there's some interference coming in from the soundboard. I think there's something in my mixer that's got a static or corrosion inside. and in the left channel especially. And at first I thought it was the mixer, and it's not the mixer. Okay, let me turn on the other audio inputs. Let me get those on. And it's not the mixer. Oh, it's just something kind of screwy. It's fine if I make sure I set the controls right. So I think that there's some interference coming in from possibly corrosion inside the controls. All right, let me get to the phone number on the screen here. I don't want to stay on too long because it's getting kind of late, but all right, so okay. So the phone's on. The phone number's on the screen. Oh yeah, I rode the Six Flags New England's Cyclone. Go ahead, call you on the air.
Hey Michelle.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Skynet, right?
No, this is Sean.
Oh, okay.
Sherry's husband.
What's that?
It's Sherry's husband, Sean.
Oh, Sean, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, Michelle. How are you?
Doing all right.
Me and Sherry saw you come on the screen here, so we're just watching you. She wanted me to call. She said she's going to call you here in a few minutes. We're just finishing up dinner.
Well, you know, I'm going to be getting ready to wrap it up soon. It's already 12:08. I didn't even...
All right. I'll let her know then.
But how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, Michelle. Just finishing up dinner here.
Yeah, you're still living in Terryville, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Did you ever get a working car yet?
Not yet. Working on it. All right, I'll let you go, Michelle. I'll let Sherry know. Have a good one.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Yeah, estrogen induced. The headphone repair was actually a relatively simple process. It just looked a lot more complicated than it was. Go ahead, caller, then you on the air.
Hey, Michelle.
Who's this?
It's me, Sherry.
Oh, the
How are you doing?
I'm not really in the mood to talk. No, I know you're not the real Sherry. I know the real Sherry. Trust me. And by the way, the voice of that person sounds like that cougar character from Warner Brothers. You know who I'm talking about, right? The cougar cat there, or not Snagglepuss. That's from Hanna-Barbera's line. Warner Brothers had this mountain lion cougar kind of character. He sounds like that. You know. Hi, Dopfish. How you doing? Go ahead, call you on the air.
Why'd you hang up on me, Loomy?
What?
Why'd you hang up on me, Loomy?
Oh, it's just...
It's me, Sherry.
Yeah, I remember when I got you on the real phone with the real Sherry Heaton. That was fun.
I am the real Sherry Heaton.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I know the real Sherry Heaton.
I can prove it. I can eat 10 pounds of butter and less.
That's enough. All right. Seriously, I do know the real Sherry. How you doing, Dopefish? Yeah, like I said, the headphone repair wasn't really hard to do. It was just a lot of steps to make that the repair would be not too obtrusive. Trust me, it's a lot better than that piece of wire that was all broken and hanging off it. So, do you ever block callers? I don't have caller ID to block them with. So, whoever calls in. So, I don't really have any way to block them. So, when the phone rings, it's just like playing a slot machine. You don't know if you're gonna get anything or if you're gonna get 777 or not. You know, you never know what you're gonna get. No. Sherry has a different timbre to her voice than that. Well, like I said, no. How does the repair headphones compare to the headphones before they were repaired? First of all, they sound a lot better. Upon doing an autopsy on the diseased section of the cord, it was obvious that the on the left channel, the ear or the signal going to the headpiece was getting shorted against the ground return line. So since the whole section cord looked like a bunch of crap anyway, I just took out 6 inches of it and just basically just placed it back together. It was the easiest way to do it. Thank God for wonderful power of heat shrink tubing. If I had to do this electrical tape, it would look like crap. Honestly. Okay. Go ahead, call you in the air.
Hello, my name's Gary Johnson. I'm with Gary Johnson Debt Collection Agency. I'm looking to speak with MicheleMarieDalene about a due debt.
What?
Hey, Michelle, this is me, Gary Johnson. I'm calling on behalf of J.C. Petty.
Yeah.
I'm going to collect the debt.
Well, whatever.
You know what debt I'm talking about?
No, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about.
But you know J.C. Petty's the motherfucking Petty. J.C. Petty? You remember running up a job there?
Making money?
That's right. You're going to have to pay up. J.C. Petty's coming knocking. This Gary
No, it's not debt collector. No, he's not. First of all, debt collector's not going to call at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Which is an interesting story in its own right. Because one of the things I was working on is trying to get my bills paid off. And I'm having mixed results about it. But I'm making an effort to try to make the right choices. Okay, 8 people on, no likes. Go ahead, call you on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
Who's this?
My name's James.
James, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. You talking about Project Pi for any chance?
Excuse me?
Are you talking about Project Pi by any chance?
Oh, geez.
I saw a video of you talking about Project Pi. It was really hot.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of pies do you like to stick your dick inside of?
Yeah, but I never really answer that, but thank you.
What about blueberry pies?
Neither. None of that, but thank you for calling. Yeah, the Project Pi thing. Well, the real Project Pi, they're still working on the implementation of it. Go ahead, call you in the air.
What about a rhubarb pie?
No, not interested. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm not interested. By the way, Lumi and I were talking about food choices. And that's another topic. I'm sure Lumi has a lot to say about what she likes for food. Me, I'm mostly Italian, so a Norwegian combination. So it's either a lot of pasta and some salads and pizzas and things like that. Go ahead, call your ear.
Well, cheerio, how are you doing?
What?
I said, well, cheerio, how are you doing? My name is Spencer, and I'm calling from the UK.
I'm doing okay, I guess.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. I'm here watching your fucking cunt show, and it's quite...
I don't like when people start cussing at me. I really don't like that. But anyway, there we go. I gotta put the microphone closer to me because I keep forgetting that I don't have the clip on here. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
I do apologize for that. I probably should have explained. I suffer from Tourette syndrome. Are you familiar with the Tourette syndrome?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
So I do apologize. That's just part of my tick. So I'm sorry about that. But I was hoping to talk to you about your channel here.
I don't really know too many people
with it. So I saw a video you were talking about auras, the different, the different colors of the auras and what it means.
Different colors?
Yeah,
like the colors
like what a red aura versus a blue aura and such. I've been researching this. It's very interesting stuff.
Well, I know that some people, I don't know much about Tourette's, and not know if I can really say anything about it.
Right.
But I know something about the ticks.
Stand in your cunt hole. Fuck. Go on. Sorry about that.
Well, I know about some of them have ticks, such as spastic movements in their hands and legs sometimes. In some ways, it's kind of related to restless leg syndrome, but still more constant. But
I noticed you have a bit of a whitish aura about yourself, a very bright light, whether that's emanating from your soul or such, but I believe that's to be a sort of chakra. Would you agree with that?
Well, let me ask you another question, which...
Fire in the cunt hole, dick, cunt. Sorry about that.
Do people with Tourette's have issues with things like lights or certain sounds or smells? Like, I noticed that certain smells can bring back happy memories. And here's a funny thing about the smells. I was coming home from the soup kitchen one day, and I smelled something like really familiar. It's
fuck, piffing, fuck, sorry about that.
Well, I mean, like, okay, I know that sometimes certain smells can be both positive and negative. I usually...
Right.
I wonder if you had problems with that too, where certain smells could be overwhelming and other smells are, of course, exciting and inviting.
Fucking blonde bear, cunt, Nazi bitch.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. Oh, can I tell my story?
Absolutely. I apologize. I suffer from Tourette syndrome, so I can't really cope with that. So just try to ignore my thing.
Well, I remember I was coming home a couple days ago from the soup kitchen.
What are you saying, you dumb bitch? Nobody's fucking there.
All right. That's enough.
Sorry about that.
I hate having a story half baked, and I don't get to finish it. Okay, there's a story. I'm going to keep it short. I was walking home from the soup kitchen one day, and I smelled this beautiful smell, kind of very vinegary, but it smelled delicious. And of course, Lumi shares my nostrils, and she's like, "Wow, whatever that is smells good." I said, "It smells very, very acidic." And she said, "Yeah, it reminds me of pickled herring." Pickled herring? You see, the Swedish people have a herring they call pickled herring. I forgot what the famous name is. It's like something like salmi or something. And it's supposedly very, very powerful stink. And there are people in Sweden that love it, but there are people that don't. And I said, "Is that the smell?" She says, "No, this is a lot weaker than that." But and then one person pointed out is Lumi actually likes pickled herring, and I asked her what was the ingredients in pickled herring, and it's herring and spices and vinegar and a few other things, sometimes thrown in like peppers and green peppers and things like that. It's very, very pungent. But this didn't smell quite like that. This smelled like, because she actually gave me, because she can remember the smell. She kind of gave me a sense of the smell, and it was powerful, but it was potent. But I said, no, this smell isn't that. And I said, this smells sweet and nice, like a nice salad dressing or something. I was getting kind of, thinking about the smell, and it was actually pleasant. It was actually enjoyable. Actually, I don't know what it was, but it smelled good. uh, I know that. I know it's not his fault. But so yes, smells can bring back memories. Sounds can bring back memories, good and bad. And then I saw one of Lumi's shows. She said to me is, I have always tried to get Michele to eat different things. Like I finally got Michele to eat ketchup, but she can't stand it. And no, I don't like ketchup. She said, I'm afraid that Michele tried mayonnaise because I'm afraid that she might end up in the hospital. Thank you. That's what it was called. Surströmming. Thank you. I think that's how you pronounce it. Surströmming. Yes, that's what she's talking about. And Annie Volcita and Laurie talked about it too when they put a can of it in the hydraulic press. I don't know if I would be able to eat it, but my mom eats liverwurst, so I guess I couldn't be that much worse. Thank you. Appreciate it. You know what I would like to try in the region where they live in Finland is called Tampere. Tampere has this local delicacy. The Norwegians have something similar. It's called blood sausage. It's basically like a pork blood in it, I think. And in the Norwegian one, they usually fry it. No, eat it like with the breakfasts. It actually looks pretty interesting. I wouldn't mind trying it. Go ahead, call you on the air.
Hello, my name is Francine. My son Spencer called you a little bit ago, and he's a bit sad right now. He seems to think that you're upset with him over his disability.
Excuse me? What?
My name is Francine, and my son Spencer rang you on the telly a short period of time ago. He's a young boy and he suffers from Tourette's syndrome. And he seems to think that you took a disliking to him due to his disability.
Okay.
So I'm just going to clear that up. You can go ahead and I can put him on the phone and you can apologize to him if you like.
Well, anyway, like I said, when it comes to food, there are some things I do want to try.
Honey, do you know what it's like to suffer from Tourette's? Do you understand how Tourette's syndrome works?
Well, let me see if I'm here. It's not too loud for my ears because you're kind of overloading my ears.
Well, I've suffered from it my whole life, and so has my son Santa. And it's not really a fun thing when you have these tips from people in public.
Yeah, I remember that the liverwurst my mom would eat would look like cat food. Yes, it did.
Fucking bitch. Sorry about that. Keep going. I apologize for that.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Fuck your liverwurst, you bitch. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, thank you for calling.
I apologize. Occasionally I have mistakes that I cannot control.
Thank you for calling. I hope you have a nice night. I'm really having a hard time with that one. Really. So let's get back to the chat here. It's kind of like cat food. Yeah, it does look like cat food. My mom, of course, my mom's pure Norwegian. She loves it, but I never really had it. So I've certainly seen it. I certainly see what it looks like, and I don't really like liver, so that's something I'm going to eat. But I do want to try another Norwegian delicacy called Grant. And actually, it's funny because how in the hell did this become a Norwegian preferred product? How in the hell did Norway get into pizza? The famous brand is called Grandiosa Pizza in Norway. How in the heck did Grandiosa end up in Norway? I don't know. But God knows I sure eat a lot of that. Go ahead, caller. You're in the air.
Hello, my name is George. Did you hang up on my wife Francine a little bit ago when she rang you on the telly?
What?
My wife Francine, she rang you on the telly a little bit ago. I was on the porch having a spliff. She seems to think that you hung up the telly on her because of her disability. Are you familiar with Tourette's syndrome?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Stupid fucking bitch! Sorry about that.
Okay.
Fuck what you have to say, you dumb cunt. I'm sorry about that. That's me, dick. Yeah, I suffer from Tourette's syndrome. I've suffered my whole life. So does it be my friend Steve and me little son Spencer.
Okay, well, thank you for calling. Sonico. No, I have not. I've heard it mentioned a few times, but I have no idea what that is. Oh, anyway. So my mom is pure Norwegian. She lives originally. She was born and raised in Kristiansand, Norway, and she happens to talk a lot about Norwegian food. She's from northern Norway. They actually use two Norwegian dialects. Most people did not know that, and they're both the native languages in Norway. You got the northern Norwegian and you got the southern Norwegian. I forget what they're called, but the point is that they're But when I watched Your Way to Norway, I got a chance to understand something about Norway. Oh yeah, by the way, Ronald, the guy does that show. He's a real hottie. Oh, go ahead, call your here.
My name is Gloria. I'm calling you here on the telly because my son George seemed to think that you hung up the phone on his wife Francine. Because you hung up the phone on her son and my grandson, Spencer. Now, I seem to find this a little bit offensive because I've suffered with Tourette's my whole life.
Okay.
Do you know what it's like to have Tourette's, man?
All right, thank you. All right, so this is the reason I don't like to do the phones because it gives me a headache. So I'll take some more phone calls in a little bit. Right now, I just want to finish checking the chat because that's easier. So yeah. So I'll take phone calls in a little bit. I promise you that. All right. So let's get back to the questions so I don't get lost in the questions. I see that YouTube gives me an option to give suggestions for feedback for this webcam app. I'm going to make a suggestion real quick to YouTube. I don't know how I can do it without potentially knocking everything offline because you don't know what I'm talking about. When I start up the app, it doesn't save my camera settings, so I have to manually keep setting it. Otherwise, it keeps taking pictures of my couch, which is fine if I'm on the couch, but if I'm on the computer, I have to manually set it. This is Gloria Michele. She is explaining Tourette's to you. Michele, you're gonna have problems with people with Tourette's. Hell, I got problems with people with hearing loss. Never mind Tourette's, and stuff like that. But no, I was saying is that so there is a lot of things that Ronald does on Your Way to Norway. He's really cute. He's younger than me, obviously. He's in like his 20s. And he was walking around several Norwegian grocery stores, including Rima 1000 grocery store. And he was talking about how most younger Norwegians eat a fairly bland diet. And of course, I was watching him. He was going through the aisles and talking about what kinds of foods were available. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's the same with me. I don't eat really a lot of fancy food. I tend to eat. I eat to live, not live to eat. So, yeah, I know that. Even though I don't have Tourette's, when I get stressed out, you can hear me stutter, and that is frustrating. When you start sounding a little bit like I don't know how to describe it. Just sometimes you hear me stutter and like I'm trying to grasp for words. But one of the things I can tell you is there are things that I do want to try. You should be more ready to properly deal with callers who suffer from disabilities. Well, for a lot of people with disabilities, personally, the best way for them to communicate is to the text interface. And the reason is text is the most common thing that can easily be adapted. So people, for example, who are speech impaired, who can't talk because of whatever reason, they can type. People who are blind can either get a adjustable braille display or they can get speech or text to speech. The Mac has it. I don't have it enabled on this because it would drive me apeshit. But a braille display, like the lowest cost one I found was like $1,200. It's like I think it's like a 12-cell Beetle braille display, and you would read it with your finger. And this one supported Bluetooth, so you can use it with your cell phone and everything. And so you can also plug it in by USB port into your computer, so you can actually read your braille display on your just like you would read a braille book. And then there's a button to advanced cells on the screen. On the that's something I did want to consider getting. So, I mean, I've been, in my case, I've been making a lot of efforts to try to accommodate my own handicaps. My computer screen here, I have this text right now is set to default. You know what? I would say one thing. Speaking of something, I'd like to definitely post a message. Is the feedback app says send feedback. It is so tempting to click on that button, YouTube. Because one of the things is I would like to ask is, and I try to find out the answer to this, but because my computer is set up such a weird way with so many strange add-ons, it's hard for me to be able to give YouTube a straight answer. The first question I would ask them is how come it automatically is defaulting to the Firewire capture device? I know what you're saying is, well, why don't you use the Firewire capture camera as the main camera, and then you won't have to worry about that? Well, I could do that. I've did that in the past. But I think that the main camera, which is higher resolution than PAL, it's better picture on the other device. Do I believe in white privilege? No, I don't. I be honest when I say that. I don't think white privilege really exists. I mean, some say it does, some say it don't. I'm one of those that don't. Um, I don't see the whites having any more privileges than anyone else do. Some may think we do, but the truth is that I don't see that. Um, just white privilege to me just doesn't exist. I mean, it's something that's of any significance to consider privilege. If you were to ask me, do I believe in safe spaces in universities? Do I believe that safe spaces are good for the students? Well, I have my mixed views on that. For people with Asperger's, safe spaces um, can be good and can be bad. Because I didn't have safe spaces in my university or college degree. I had to deal with the mayhem like everyone else did. But today's younger generation have these things called safe spaces, places where people basically are chill around everybody, which is fine. Except the sad truth is that I think when you look what the generation created, it created people like Stacy, um, people that have a hard time understanding what really goes on in the real world. I asked Lumi what she thought about safe spaces, and she said, "What a crack a hooey." You know, she said, "I didn't have safe spaces in Compy. We didn't even have safe spaces. Just walking out the street, you were always at the risk of beggars and poor people and people that wanted to rob you and people that were always trying to cut throats and cut purses that would steal your money. And there was no safe spaces." And she said it gave me an additional edge to be a little tougher. She said, "You went through something similar when you were in school. You actually had to deal with the kids, all of them, all kinds of kids. Nice ones, mean ones, good ones, bad ones. You had to deal with them all." I said, "Yeah, well, my generation was probably the last generation that didn't have safe spaces." um, I don't really know if safe spaces are always a good idea, but I do know that when I come home, I am in a safe space of my own choosing. But when I'm at the soup kitchen, it's not a safe space. It's a small soup kitchen, but it's not like um, a special room where everybody goes in and hugs stuffed animals and cries and everybody gives them free Kool-Aid and stuff like that. We didn't have that, and I still don't have that. My house is my safe space. The outside world doesn't care about me. I'll be honest. The outside world doesn't care anybody. Let me explain that. One of the things that younger generation was told is that we're all special. You know what? That's not really, the average person doesn't know and doesn't care about everybody else unless they're friends that they know, and then they care a bit more. But if you ever look at the average man in the street, doesn't give a shit about me or about anyone else on the street. I'm just another person that walks by them with blonde hair. That's it. I mean, they might say hello, but they're not going to go ahead and say, "Oh, you're so special because you got blonde hair." No. They just see me as another person on the journey called life. That's all they see me as. That's fine. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of the younger generation don't really have that. Hell, look what we did to children's toys now. When I was a kid, we had lawn darts, for God's sakes. We had easy bake ovens. We had chemistry sets. Sure, they got a lot safer over the years, but still, we were working with things that worked on mains voltage. We were doing model rocketry with actual rocket engines. We were um we were allowed to run around and go outside and play and have fun. And nobody was trying to cordon us off into rooms full with inflatables so that we couldn't get hurt. We had to deal with reality. Lumi had even less protection as a kid. Think about it. They didn't even have the materials and stuff that we have today. In fact, if she had any toys, they more than likely were filled with sawdust. Think about that one. Or they might be filled with cotton and it was not flame resistant. So obviously she knew that there are things that you didn't want to do, like get your nightgown too close to the fire, or you're going to go up in flames, which was a real concern back in her time. People did catch fire because they would get too close to something and they're close to catch fire. And they didn't necessarily know about drop, stop, and roll. I learned about that, how to put out a fire by rolling it out. May not necessarily stop you from burning, but at least it might give you a chance to actually get most of the fire out if you're lucky. Today's kids don't realize that, yeah, we lived in a dangerous world as kids, but you know what? I'm still here. Think of this. I'm 51 years old. I'm not 53. Irish Marie keeps thinking I'm 53. I don't know why, but I'm not. I'm 51. Womi's 185. She always had such happy memories about Kampi and Finland that she chose to use that year, despite the fact that she also had a life that was closer to in the 20th century. She chose to go back and think of that life. Maybe because when she was working as a young girl in the speakeasy at the end, right near the end of Prohibition, she didn't really feel like, it was a good life and she wanted to just forget all about it. Not that I particularly blame her any. But it was a rough time, so roaring 20s. No one's going to doubt that. But she always seemed to remember very much her life in Kampi, and she loved to talk about Kampi. She talks about her family. She talked about her, way she grew up and the way she had to, when she left home at 18, all the struggles she had to do just to make it, and how she never ever got married. Oh, wait, let me tell you that story in her show. I'm not going to tell it to you now, because I think you're kind of already suspecting what's gonna happen. I think today's world is more dangerous for the youth. I think so because today's kids are given participation awards, not for actually trying, but just for being on a team, just for showing up to get an award. They were not taught that they had to basically show their abilities and improve themselves. Just show up for a classroom, you get a pass grade. Pretty much, they had that in school now. Okay, you showed up for class, right? You look like you did most of your homework. Okay, here's your pass grade. That's all they get. So unfortunately, when they get into the real world, the corporate world that unfortunately my generation left them, they are so ill prepared that they don't know what to do. Let me give some suggestions to the youngsters. I mean, anybody that's under 51 years old, anyway, which means just about anybody here. As far as I know, most of you guys are younger than me. Get out there and accept the fact that you are going to have to face days when you're going to have challenges that are going to seriously test every bit of your personality and your psychic, your psyche. There are going to be days when you're going to have to face challenges in your life that you're going to hate. But then the end results could be something that you can later love. If you want to be successful in the world, you're going to have to work for it. I learned that the hard way. I still live by that today. It's why I found, and of course, with your handicapped, you got to have to deal with another thing, which is to find things that you can do successfully. And YouTube, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It's probably one of the best things that I've ever actually did, was because I got a chance to actually do something in a way I can do it by adapting my equipment to make it possible for me to do my show and for me to be able to get out there and show what skills I have. And it's been a tough journey. I've been doing this for a long time. So don't be afraid if you're going to have to really work extra hard to get that advancement in your job position. That's the way life is. It's not easy. Um, Life is, you wake up one day and you're going to just, and we all want that magic pie in the sky position for, we all dream of one day of being successful. And I mean, in reality, that doesn't generally fall in your lap. Even when I was studying to be the North American Snuck Green, I did not just get the job just because mother said, here's the crown, go run with it. I had to prove when I knew what I was doing, that I was competent and I had the skills. So during my internship, if I didn't do a good job, I would never have been the North American Snuck Green. I had to study so much, to learn so much in ethics and weather and meteorology and research, and of course sorcery. Learning to know the moral times when to use sorcery and when not to use sorcery, and when it's best to let something just be and when to actually intervene. And that's not an easy list for some people to learn. And patience, heaven forbid. This is for Stacy particularly. Is that sometimes solutions to your problems is not going to happen in 30 minutes or less. I'm sorry, life is not dominoes. Okay? It's not like you can get on the phone, say I'm sorry, and then 30 minutes later, all of a sudden you see happy times and kissy kissy. I hate to say it, but the real world, you do something wrong, it may take a while to fix the problem. It makes you sad, it makes you miserable, but I think in the long run, it builds strength, because now you begin to realize that you don't want to do that again. And they also and I'll be honest, I've been through enough controversies on this channel. I can certainly tell you, I learned a few new things too. That there's some things you just got to be careful with. Did Lumi knit or crochet? I don't think she did. I think she was more of a bookworm. She was more into the studies of the sciences and into spirituality. I don't think she got too much into knitting or crocheting. Okay. Well, I don't know about the Jedi, but the point is there are people who have been playing musical instruments for many, many, many years since their adolescence. They're now, you would think that by now they would probably be in some major symphony orchestra, but probably much just basically said, nah, it's not worth it for a professional business. But for fun, they might do it. They may still grab out the violin, rise up the bow, and basically play a few nice pieces of music, but they're not going to sit there and want to go through and being in the symphony. It's a lot of competition to get into a symphony, especially if you want to go, especially when you move up to the next level. You got to compete with other guys and gals who've been trying to do the same thing all their lives. That's life. That's competition. That's the real world. I know a feeling that honestly that a lot of today's kids don't have a chance because they don't understand. And those are the kids who cry about safe spaces and saying that, oh, life's not fair, boo hoo hoo, I don't like the way I'm being treated. Oh, I'm sorry, kids. I hate to say it here, but personally, experience says the real world doesn't see you as enchanted or gifted. you have to show what you can do. And that means sometimes that taking on the tough challenges that you hate. Well, an internship, because I already was doing some of this weather studies and stuff on my own beforehand. There's an issue like for the first year, you have to not only demonstrate that you understand how weather works, which is understandable. Any college, any university has a courses in atmospheric science can teach you that part. But it's the areas of moral responsibility and ethics and knowing what kinds of spells should be done and when certain types of spells shouldn't be done. That kind of borders on something similar to Hogwarts. um, which I know you think of Harry Potter, right? Well, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you got what happened to Alexander Voskov. He was a college university educated, University of Moscow in the meteorology field, but he kind of became like Lord Voldemort. He was just basically like he didn't give a crap. And Mother God said to him, he was supposed to have been crowned in 2012. It was 2 years after me. I was crowned in 2011. I started my internship in 2010. And she told him straight out, sorry, you're not what I'm looking for. I don't think he took it too well. His girlfriend, Tanaya, was interested in the field too. And so Tanaya ended up being the one that was chosen by Mother God to be the weather steward of Eastern Europe and Russia because she had the type of understanding of morals and ethics, and her knowledge in atmospheric sciences wasn't as sharp, but she had what Mother God wanted, which was a person that showed compassion and love. Hi, Speckle Cat, how you doing? So you see, it's I remember a couple of years ago, 14 actually, Mother God said to me, she said, I keep asking you, she says, I would like you to do all 4 seasons. And I said to Mother, she wanted me to do summer. I said, Mom, I'm not interested in summer. I said, please, I only want to focus on winter. And she said, Michele, I have tried to find other people to fill positions, and I've interviewed many people. But I think you have what it takes. And I said, well, I could try it. And we did. We had a cooler summer that year. It was nice. It wasn't too bad. But my heart really wasn't in it. I just couldn't quite get into summer. But winter was my thing. I love snow. I love, of course, the holidays that come with it. Go figure this one out. In the United States, anyway, is we have almost every major holiday, or almost every major holiday, lands right during fall and winter and some in spring. And some people say, what's so big deal about Halloween? Well, Halloween's special. It's the Wiccan New Year. It's the final harvest of the year. It's when we bring in the last of the crops from the fields. It's also time when the veil between here and the other side is the thinnest. When spirits of those who have passed cross over. That is when, for example, people have been known to leave gifts for the loved ones who passed away. I don't really know what happens to the gifts. I know that some of them have been taken. In fact, there's so obviously somebody took them. Whoever, I don't know. The point is that the tradition of trick or treat started from that. That if you would leave something for your beloved past family members, and they would be give you good fortune and they'd be happy. But if you didn't, well, they would trick you and make you unhappy. It actually is related also to another Celtic lore of the little folk. Most people don't know about that, but that's actually another part of the whole lore of the little folk, like the leprechauns and the other little fairies that wood fairies and stuff that do great things for the people. All they need is little gifts now and then, and they'll bring a great joy to your home. So for me, Halloween or Samhain is a time when I think of my loved ones that passed away before me and all the many skills and gifts that they gave and shared with me. And and I think about that. My father was a very talented woodworker, and he taught me a lot of the trade. There's a famous song by Fogerty called "I'm a Living Legacy" to the leader of the band. Listen to the words sometime. Of course, he's talking about how he kind of carried over on his father's love of music, and he'd be performing himself. And he would think of all the things that his dad shared with him. It's the same with me with music. I happen to have a father that was very much into music. And I do love music. And I don't, I can sing sort of. It's not good, but it's better than nothing. But hey, Heavenly Host loves happy noises. So I like to sing happy songs. But I've been known to sing a few blues too. Have you ever thought about writing a book about your unique life? If you actually looked at the Ballad of the Snow Teen, the character in the book, Lucia Benacasa, is a little bit of my past, mixed in with a little bit of fantasy. This young girl had to struggle with the fact that her family used to be well-to-do and she had to give up everything, and in her teenage years. And then later on, her grandmother was the original Snow Queen, and she was dying of cancer. And so her grandmother originally offered the option to her mother to become the Snow Queen. Her mother turned it down. And she said, well, I want to keep the line going. I need to find somebody. And so she asked Lucia if she would be willing to do it. And then we get into the actual journey of the training and experiences. And of course, then the story gets a little weird and stuff. But if you really read through the story between the lines, you get a chance to see me. Same thing with Macca's World with Michele, which is even more so about my life. Mally, Kamaleth, was like my mother. Hard, austere, difficult to work with, very cantankerous. My father, Anthony, my father's name was actually Raymond, but he was very much like my father. He was a good man. He loved his wife, even though she was Klingon. He was a human. And so Michele grew up in a family of Italian Klingon heritage. And Michele, in the first edition of the book, which never got published or never got even printed, the character was kind of stupid. It was just, and that's why I decided to rewrite the book Macca's World. And the way the book is not finished, just like my life is not finished yet. So maybe if I was to write an actual story of my life, I don't really know if any people would actually read it. That's why the documentary was so important, because the documentary is where you got to know more about the person behind the microphone. And I hope that people will understand that, just like any person, there's two sides to every story. My story that was being shown in the I Am Sunscreen was actually pretty much the way I really am on a regular basis, but I also do have a dark side. Everybody does. But that's okay. That's life. It's just too bad that some people kind of got hurt in the process. 6 people on here still. But absolutely, if you've watched I Am Sunscreen, I was finally able to download a copy of it. I have it now. But R11 didn't give me permission to release it. So I can't even release the URL because he said that he wants to hold on to the URL because of he's putting it in film festivals. So I respectfully agreed not to promote the link anymore, except for very few people that I shared it with, like Scottish Stacy. And she really wanted to talk to R11 about it. She thought he did a fantastic job, and she wanted him to get in contact with her. I don't think R11 did. I think she's still waiting for an answer. Klingon Italian. Well, it's funny because Michele's father's name was Tony. He was from Tuscany, and Tuscany is not known for being into the mafia or anything like that. Kamala was originally a general in the Klingon army, and tough as nails. And she lived on Kutnosh, and so she had a life on Kutnosh. She didn't actually have much experience with Earth. She never been to Earth. But you know what? Here's another thing too. These people don't realize about me is I'm still trying to find myself. What I mean by that is I'm an American, but I don't feel that I'm in the right place or the right time. Oh, I can't do much about the time. I can do something about the place. I would like to go to the UK, but that's expensive as frig. If you want to go to the UK, it's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you £1,100 to get there to get a visa. It's going to be paperwork up the wazoo. There's immigration requirements that are very difficult to meet. And the reason why they changed the immigration requirements originally was because they didn't want to have too many people coming in and flooding the country, which sounds familiar, right? By the way, Donald Trump has said new rules. He said the memorandum says that if you were going to want to be one of those people sponsoring immigrants or migrants to come into this country, you have to pay for the social services. Because he realized that the taxpayers can't afford to do it. So if you want to foster in illegal immigrants, you got to pay for all the food stamps. You got to pay for all their medical and all the care. Because they're not going to demand any American people do it anymore. Yeah. So, like I said, there's a lot about me you don't really know. It's just, you only know a little bit about me. So, right now, there's only 4 of us left. I think it's time to wrap it up. But I probably more than likely will probably be on tomorrow. I don't know how much we're going to talk about, but the point is that I am really, really thankful that you all came today to the show. And I will see you all more than likely, at least in the vlog in the morning. And I hope that you will realize that I will try to do on occasion these night shows. Because you notice they're not that complicated. They're actually pretty straightforward, simple. But unfortunately, because of the way I'm doing them, they don't have any way to easily pre-announce them because there's a glitch in the software where if I had to pre-announce them, let me set up my camera. I wish I lived pre-woman's rights so I could just suck dick, cook dinner, and clean for a living. You know, me and Lumi actually did, and a lot of people did, and they don't realize that we all lived at least one part of our lives during the Victorian era. I really feel more comfortable with the Victorian time period than I do with the modern age. I really wasn't. My life, I was just a farm wife. That's all I did was I was a farmer's wife, and I had a family. I had a daughter. I talk about her once in a while. I still think about her even now. But we'll talk about Abigail and that time. Maybe tomorrow we'll go through and talk that out and see where that goes. But for now, everybody go get some night sleep. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.